Thank you.
So basically, what we're looking at with current year funding, we would be building a budget in April, May, and projecting enrollment that the district would have in January, which is normally the time that we hit our 100th day, right? So there are some issues around this because, again, the data uploads into AZETs. You know, sometimes the data is not reliable, and we would not have it in time to be able to be, you know, have accurate numbers at that point in time. So we would be looking as late as May to do a revision to capture any dollars or reduce dollars, right, for that matter, if you over project enrollment. So what would be the impact of projecting too low, the ADM too low? The negative would be we would not set a sufficient tax rate. Insufficient cash flow would be a result of that. We would be very careful in, you know, staffing. We could not make those decisions with confidence without knowing what our budget would be for that year. And then it would cause tax rate fluctuations for the following year. You know, we would probably be making up a deficit, right, in the current year, in the following year. The positives would be that in May, we would be increasing our budget, right, with the increased enrollment that we projected too low. But then we would not be able to spend those dollars, right, in May, and we would have an increased budget carryover into the following year. So then again, the same scenario, but projecting too high, again, we would be setting an inflated tax rate. We would be charging our taxpayers more dollars than what they should have been paying because we didn't project our ADM correctly. We would possibly overspend our budget, and again, tax rate fluctuation would also be in place. So the tax rate would not have the stability as it does now. The positives, again, we would have maximized budget capacity and good cash flow because we'd be collecting more money than what we needed for that year. So when we're looking at our enrollment, as you can see, I think you've seen this chart before because it does show, it does tell the story about TUSD, how we've lost so many students over time. But as you can see, in the most recent years, our decline has not been as great. For example, in 13-14, we lost 1,531 students, which was 3.2% less than what we had in 12-13. 14-15, we lost 850, which was 1.8%. 15-16, 576, negative 1.3. And then this last number is a projection because I'm just assuming we're going to stay pretty flat. If current year funding goes into effect, we would lose these 2 years, these last 2 years, all in 1 year, which is almost 1,200 students. Okay. And then the last part of the concerns that I put together in this presentation, or some of the issues with the budget, is the continued reduction in our unrestricted capital funding, which is referred to as district additional assistance. Again, I did update the chart and included 16-17. So from a $22 million allocation, we would be cut 19.4%. And I'm just estimating at the same level that we were reduced this year, which was 87.4%. Again, in these 8 years worth of funding, by the end of next fiscal year, we would have lost $117 million in capital funding. Okay. So that is the last slide I have for you. So I don't know if there are any other questions.
Board members, any other
Comments?
questions, comments?
No attack on public ed, huh?
No.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Soto.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 6, update on the Synergy Student Information System, SSIS. Dr. Sanchez.
Yes, ma'am. As I mentioned, Mr. C. Andrew, and I guess we had Mr. Agnew and Mr. Morrison will come up and update the board on where we are with the Synergy system. As I mentioned, this does tie into the state's effort to go to current year funding. This is one of their vehicles. So it kind of makes me wish it wasn't working so well and that we were just really dropping the ball on it. It was falling apart and we couldn't make it happen. But Unfortunately,
good news.
unfortunately, y'all are competent in getting it done. So with that, we'll hand it over to Mr. Agnew.
President Grijalva, members of the board, Dr. Sanchez, Council Tolson. It's good to be up here again. We just passed the 3-month out from our go live of July 18th, so it's an exciting time, and I'm happy to be able to report in general terms that we are on track and in good shape to make the transition to Synergy SIS. As we've done before, we'll break this down into the main project areas. In terms of project management, we are now in the stretch run tracking mission critical go live issues, making sure that the transition in July is going to be a smooth one. And we're also looking past our go live date and starting to figure out what is going to happen when we are going to be starting to add different functionality, looking at training for functionality that we will need in order to make the transition to the 17-18 school year. So we're starting to look at that and map out that timeline. In terms of installation and configuration of our hardware and software, it's very good news. We met our February milestone. We have a fully configured production environment. All the software is installed. We have web servers, load balancers, process servers, database servers, and everything is working well. We are actually, I'll talk more about this as we go, but we are doing all of our district training on our production environment on a training instance. So everything we see happen in training is more information for us about what's going to happen when we go live on the product. This includes our LDAP authentication, which is a fancy way of saying the way that people log in. They use their district login. They see what they're going to see when they hit the production server. Everything is very real and genuine. They get to see their own students based on 15-16 Mojave data. So we're excited about that, and it helps us learn a lot about our production system and make little tweaks and improvements as we go. And problems that we encounter, every one of those is something that we don't have to encounter in August. In terms of the data conversion and application setup, we have now migrated a full set of data, including data for the coming school year that we will go live on. That's classes, student sections, schedules. So everything that's in Mojave now is coming into Synergy, and will be ready to go when we move over to Synergy in July. We have set up the application to respond to all of TUSD's business processes, and now we are working to kind of hit the very small issues and iron out all the more kind of fringe areas and make sure that they're all working well in July. We have a fully operational grade book and report card for our teachers on the training site that they are using during training. And like I say, all of this is being used on our train server by everyone who passes through our district training this spring and summer. As far as the third-party interfaces, these are the systems that Synergy interacts with in terms of sending data to these systems or getting data back from these systems. We are finalizing our outgoing interfaces for Go Live. We are now working on our the integration with our Smart Choice placement software that the board approved the purchase of at the last meeting. And finally, as Ms. Soto was mentioning, we are very focused on making sure that we get our AZEDS test submissions up and make sure everything's working. We're going to start with full data load. And then work on incremental submissions, make sure all of that looks good so that we'll be sure to be sending up correct data next year. Especially important because, as Ms. Soto said, it looks like we're going to be moving to current year funding. The trainer sessions are complete. They were completed in March. We have 8 trainers well trained on the core SIS and teacher view functionality. The special ed people also did their train-the-trainer sessions, and they're geared up and ready to do their training. Our training began last week for both teachers and for school office staff. We will continue that training through the spring, and then in the summer we'll be training 12-month employees. All of these people are logging into their real data at their schools, seeing their students, seeing the students that they're used to work with at their schools. We've already gotten a lot of great feedback. We're working really hard to make detailed feedback an integral part of these training sessions so that we can benefit from that feedback loop. So just a little detail on this. The distinction here that I want to underline is the distinction between what I'm calling classroom teachers, which are teachers that log in and see a full class. They take attendance, they maintain a grade book, and then resource teachers. This has been a common question. A lot of resource teachers have been really eager to jump in on the teacher view training, but teacher view is not that's not the interface that they'll use. They'll be looking at the core SIS, and so we're going to train them with the other people that use the general core SIS. We're going to give them general navigation training. For classroom teachers, like we discussed before, they're getting the 3 PD sessions this spring. They're getting the 4 hours of hands-on training and the 1.5-hour refresher in August. And the resource teachers, like I said, we're going to get them when they come back for the 16-17 school year with a very targeted navigation training, which will enable them to do what they need to do. Also, we are anticipating approximately 400 new teachers at the new teacher induction training in Santa Rita in July. For the staff training, like I said, we sent out targeted invitations, and that was very successful. We have about 95% enrollment for our school administration and office staff training, and they're going well. We plan to train central departmental staff this summer for those that are 12-month employees, and for those that are not 12-month employees, we're doing a little bit of training in May and then more training at the end of July and the start of the school year. When we come back to school, we're going to offer subject-specific training, and this is for various purposes. One is that several schools have asked for supplementary backups in specific areas, maybe another person who enters disciplinary data or another person who knows how to take attendance. We do have redundancy built into our training plan already, but we also want to respect schools' desires to have that additional backup. So we'll be doing that through this subject-specific training. And we'll also handle the need for makeups and review in those sessions. So as I said, we are going to cut over in the first 2 weeks of July, and everything looks like it's in place for that. And when we come into work on Monday, the 18th of July, Synergy will be the system of record in TUSD. So everything is on track, and I'm happy to take your questions at this time.
Ms. Grijalva,
Thank you, Mr. Juarez.
can you take us back to the slide with the training component, the trainer?
This one, or teacher or staff?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
The video and discussion, that's the PD sessions, that's going to be incredibly important as we relate this to the fact that we still have, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the subs that we have on board. So being able to incorporate that quick video and PD or video and discussion with the PD sessions is going to be incredibly important. I mean, these folks are coming. So in some cases, they've been pretty experienced in our district and in our classrooms, and in other cases, they might be fresh to the district. Do we have any sort of tickle system to tell us, hey, we need to make sure that those folks understand what they're getting into when they're going to be looking at this?
You're talking about new teachers or
Subs.
substitute teachers? Okay. Well, long-term substitutes will be trained. They can be trained this spring or before the start of the next school year. Subs who just walk into the classroom, just for the day, there's actually a very kind of a handy way and synergy of giving them access to take attendance, and the teacher can even save instructions for them in the system.
Perfect.
So,
That's exactly what I was looking for. We're covering our bases, and that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Grijalva?
Ms. Foster.
And a question, I am so sorry, this goes back to current year funding. Dr. Sanchez, do we know if there are any other states that have current year funding?
To my knowledge, there are different funding formulas, but the states I'm familiar with, in the Southwest go off of a projected funding model, and the reason they do that is they don't have to apologize to the taxpayers ex post facto. They're able to make projections, and you always end up with the same amount of money in the end, because if they gave you too much, they don't send you a final check, or if they owe you, they send you a final check. But in essence, they know what they know, and they know how they know it, and they verify it. So in terms of any state going to scale with this, there aren't any I'm familiar with. There may be some that do this, but again, you know, I was a CFO in another state, and this wasn't the funding model. It's just
And this is the
not a
system,
good practice.
This is the system used to tell them every
Yes.
day how many students are here, and then how much funding
Yes.
would come every month? Would it be that?
So there is, I wish it were by month, but the way it works basically is Ms. Soto and the finance team get out their blindfold and they put it on. And they turn off the lights and they put the dartboard at the end of the room, and then they throw it, and they hope that they hit close enough to the number of students that we're going to have. And if they do, then our budget is built on that. If they miss it one way or another, then we end up getting paid, and we hope we get paid, or we have to pay, which basically means they don't send us a check or two at the end of the year, and we have to figure out how we're going to make ends meet. So it's really based off of our best guesstimate.
But moving forward with the current year funding model, not hopefully, knock on wood, this next year, but the following year, this systems then
This is the one,
not predicts, but indicates
verifies.
how many bodies are in the seats, and then how much funding comes
Right.
throughout the year, or at the beginning, at the end of the year? How?
So it verifies, it basically verifies when we hit 40th day, it would verify
Okay.
what we projected, and at that point, we would have to make adjustments, and it's either positions that are vacant get frozen, or positions that need to be put online are put online, or people need to be shifted, but it's done after the year begins, which, as anybody near West students in school knows, it's difficult to shift people around once students have, you know,
Yeah, they have their class.
yeah, once students have settled into their class and
Okay.
built a relationship with their teacher.
And can we just find out if there are other states that have similar
We can do that.
similar current year funding with a computer program that generates that kind of
We'll do a search for that.
system? Thank you.
Any other questions on
It
the
was-
SSIS? I know, they sort of related. Yeah, on the SSIS system? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good work, congratulations. It's really a
Congrats.
huge accomplishment. Item number 7, update on the superintendent's goals for the 2015-16 year, and this is regarding finance. Dr. Sanchez.
Yes, ma'am. If you'll remember, last year, as part of the 5-year strategic plan, as well as part of the efficiency audit, the efficiency audit recommended that we put a new enterprise resource planning system into place. And so the efficiency audit recommendation was enacted. Last year, Scott and company helped work the ERP system into place, and we're getting good information out of it. We continue to refine our processes, but basically, the ERP was Scott and Company's job last year, working with finance and purchasing and HR and operations. As you could see, the presentation now was on the student information system side of it. So Scott and Company have had 2 major district-wide implementations that in the past, previous boards and administrations had tried to get into place but didn't, or shied away from the challenge. And so again, I just want to acknowledge Scott and his team for not shying away from the challenge and getting things done. This is an update on some of what we've done with ERP as well as other projects that are within the superintendent's goals that do align with the goals that I hold myself accountable to, that the board has put forward to hold me accountable for the progress of the district, but also what the community has put forward to move the district forward. I mean, to say that this is a district without a plan is a misnomer because it's one that has had one. And so Ms. Soto will guide the conversation on where we are with our plan, what we continue to accomplish, and where we're heading before the year's end. Ms. Soto.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Sanchez. We are very excited to present to you an update on our strategic plan, year 2 goals in the area of finance. I was going to ask the entire team to come up, but they've already done that because they're so excited to come up here and present. So I thought it was something that we all needed to share and talk about what we're doing. With prelude to that, I just wanted to go over some of our priorities for year 1. As far as priority number 1 was the ERP implementation and process refinement. And again, basically implement a district-wide ERP system was our ultimate goal, and we went live July 1 of 15. Priority number 2, maximizing existing revenues and resources. Again, in that area, some of the major initiatives that we took on was the energy performance contracts on our P card program that continues to be successful. As you can see, we have a little bit of stats there for you. Priority number 3, school finance education and transparency. Again, there was a misalignment because, again, the goal here was to provide accurate and timely reports with the new ERP, which was not in place, but we did promote the transparency component of the priority by giving a lot of presentations to the governing board in different areas, legislative updates, audit updates, our annual financial report, and whatnot. Priority number 4, legislative advocacy. Again here, increasing awareness in public education funding and issues. Again, there were a lot of infographics. This is just a sampling of the ones that were prepared last legislative session as it related to DSEC funding, JTED funding, and anything that could impact TUSD. We were out there, telling our story. Again, with the efforts of our communications department, we would not have been able to accomplish this, and through our leader, Dr. Sanchez, and promoting and advocating at the legislature on behalf of our district. And then last but not least, priority number 5, external funding. And again, the year 1 goal was to do a financial needs assessment, develop a toolkit to help the school sites get those dollars that are desperately needed. So we're going to start with priority number 1, again, with the system, process creation and refinement. Again, our year 2 goal was to implement change management strategies to increase communication and collaboration. And with that, the governing board wanted evidence, right, produced. And that evidence was to be 100% of personnel to be trained on a new ERP and HR and finance functions following change management processes by June 30, 2016. So before I got up here, I went online and looked up change management because, this has been a true transformation of our district. And the definition that I found, the first one, was an approach to transitioning individuals, departments, and organizations using specific methods intended to redirect the use of resources, business processes, budget allocations, and other modes of operation that significantly reshape a company or organization. And I tell you, we've seen a tremendous transformation, and you'll get to hear about it. So first, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Michael Cota. He's our financial system analyst. He's taken on the ERP project, and it's not just about the ERP. There are several other things that we have to talk about in that. So Michael, want to take on?
Good evening. I'm going to talk about the systems integrated with visions. So we have 5 systems that went live this year. One of them being the Time Clocks Plus, which is the district's timekeeping system. The AppleTrack, which is our hiring management software. SubFinder, which was bought out by ASOP, which is our automated subplacement and teacher absence management system. We also have the InTouch, which is our district-wide point-of-sale system. and the Horizon, which is our food service operations software. These systems replaced the Lawson, PeopleSoft, Kronos, and Bluebear and WinSnap systems. After implementation, we have eliminated a minimum of 13 finance paper forms, 16 plus HR human resources forms, and many time-consuming manual processes. By eliminating paper forms, we have streamlined our processes and procedures using electronic format. We also have Infinite Vision's training and support. Tyler Technologies provided 80 sessions for core Visions product trainings, which included HR, finance, payroll, and operations staff. There was 93 central staff trained. Then they also provided our iVisions DAC training, 32 sessions. 501 site department users were trained to use the iVisions program. We have additional consulting and process reviews, 31 sessions, and 6 monthly status calls. The district continues to provide training and support to our central office staff with open labs, monthly meetings for office managers, finance managers, and admin assistants, one-on-one trainings as needed to principals, office managers, and new users, and office starts training at the beginning of the school year. For time clocks, we had an initial training provided in May and June of 2015. Those consisted of 32 training sessions, out of which 348 office managers, principals, assistants, editors, and approvers were trained. We had a bumpy start, which led to us making some changes. Beginning in November, we implemented system email notifications, employee approvals, and in January, we introduced editors and approvers with a new change for employees to self-correct their mispunches. So the first 2 weeks of January, the district provided trainings to editors and approvers on the new time clock changes that were implemented on January 31st. We had 28 sessions, and we used a train-the-trainer model. 348 office managers, editors, and approvals will also attended those. Sorry, that was cut off there. We used the train-the-trainer model. Support was provided to those sites that indicated they needed additional assistance in training their employees. One of those examples is the operations department. They requested training, so the time and attendance office assisted with training the operations staff. The next system we have is the AppleTrack training and support. AppleTrack reduces the amount of manual data entry into the new Vision system. There was a total of 9 training sessions for the HR staff, a total of 28 open labs, and a total of 4 ILA trainings. One-on-one trainings are held on a as-needed basis. The next one is our Subfinder ASOP training and support. So the initial Subfinder training was held in March of 2015. We had 5 of those. And then we just completed our sub-office staff with ASOP training in April, 4 sessions of those. And this month we also introduced the new ASOP system to our office managers for the sites. Ongoing training and support include substitute teacher training at HR orientation, video tutorials that are online, and instructions are posted on the TUSD website. Now I would like to introduce Mike Dunn, the financial systems analyst, who will be talking about the InTouch training.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
So InTouch Receiving is the new point of sale system at all district sites. The systems it replaced were Bluebear at the high school sites, which was our previous software application that was used at the 9 high schools, and an all handwritten paper process at all of our K through 8 sites by each office manager. So the handwritten receipts, the manually filled out deposit logs, manually filled out tax credit receipt logs, and the entry of all that into our old ERP system is going away. And you can see by the graphic there, it's a fairly standard looking point of sale system if you were to go to Safeway or Chipotle or any of those systems. Very similar. In addition to the in-person sales, an online payment portal also allows students, parents, the public to go on and make payments that will be synchronized with the terminal used at the site. So those payments will be immediately updated and reflected in the students' payment records. The InTouch system will synchronize every night with our SIS system. Currently, it's synchronizing with Mojave. As of July 18th, we'll be synchronizing with Synergy. It also synchronizes every night with Destiny Web, which is our textbook library book system. Those library books and fines that live over on the library system will now be showing up at the register and on the online store when mom and dad log into the web store to make a payment. They will discover what books might be missing from their student quite boldly in red pop up as soon as they get in there. Also, it ties into our ERP system. Every day, each site does an end of period. That creates a data file that can then be uploaded to our ERP system rather than taking a paper deposit log and rekeying a 24-digit GL account and amount for every single item that was deposited. The training and support, all 9 high schools implemented this last July with early July training and then scheduled pickup season at all 9 high schools. They were on InTouch. They were coming from a prior computer system that was standalone. This system is one unified database for the entire district. So the student comes in and begins making their purchases in kindergarten, and that purchase history will follow them through their senior year of high school. March 2016, we presented the InTouch portal to the K through 8 office managers who are going to be your site managers for InTouch at the K through 8 sites, and gave them a training on how they'll be able to put items up on their web stores and how they'll be able to access sales reports from those web stores. We scheduled True North Logic classes for 6 weeks. We are halfway through that schedule right now. We have 42 sites trained. We're beginning the installs at those sites of the terminal applications so that site managers can begin to use it at their own pace, as long as by July 1st, all sites within the district will be on InTouch. The portal is already live, and they can add sites to their portal so that when they are preparing their summer information to go home to parents in the next month or so, they can choose how much they're going to focus to redirect their parents to use the portal and get money out of kids' pockets, checks out of the backpacks, and take care of the payments in an adult-to-adult fashion. Also, beginning July 1st, at all the sites and ILCs, they will be accepting credit cards at every site. So each site will have a swipe and be able to take debit, and you won't have to dust off the checkbook once a year when you visit your student's school. And with that, I'm going to introduce Shirley Sokol from Food Service.
Thank you. Very excited about that process, gotta say.
Madam President, Governing Board members, and Dr. Sanchez, Council Tullison. As you know, Food Service initiated the implementation of the Horizon Food Service Operations System at the start of school. We really focused the first semester on the front of the house point of service system. We did training with hundreds of our staff. We set up anywhere from 1 to 10 terminals at all the schools. And we have seen that as time goes on and our staff becomes more familiar with the cashiering system, our lines are increasing in their throughput efficiency, which we're happy to see. We've also been working behind the scenes on the back of the house system, And our goal is to have the complete system in place by the start of this coming school year. The back of the house requires a lot of data entry for recipes, hundreds and maybe thousands. We did delete quite a few, as well as nutrition information, warehousing, inventory, distribution. Oh, thank you, Carla. What a team we have, right? We do have 2 slides, so I only had to push it 1 time. Some of the good things that we've noticed is that with this new system, we have received approximately 33% of our federal meal applications online. This is the first year that we offered parents that option. They will always be able to choose the option of picking up a hard copy form, and we'll continue to do that. But overall, we received 40% more applications than we have seen for the district in several years. And most likely that is due to the online application. Our parents have been very happy about having the option to pay and set up meal accounts for their students, and we appreciate that. Our staff has appreciated the information on the student, the photos come up, the flags on special diets, and that has really helped when the students present themselves because they have to have a form of ID. So having the student photo is a form of ID if they don't have their student card. Also, the back of the house implementation, the 3 areas I'm most excited about there that will help streamline our operations and efficiency. One is we're redesigning our distribution system and tying it into the back of the house so we don't have to have trucks go out to each school so many times a day. 2, for the first time ever, we will have front of the house site inventory actually speak to our central warehouse, connect, and they will have a perpetual inventory system. The third one, which is probably the most important, I think, overall, is that our managers who order every 5 weeks for menu requisitions for their sites, and they're done 6 weeks usually before we start procurement, and it's done by hand for the last 20-some years. With the Horizon system, it will bring up the average participation level, and it will automatically calculate with the units and pack sizes needed with that shopping list of what's going to be on the menu. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll cut out quite a nice, probably, percentage of human error, which is natural, things that were forgotten or things that were ordered that didn't need to be ordered. So it'll streamline our procurement process. So we're looking forward to it. We're going to continue making improvements, and our goal is to get it all completed by the start of next school year.
Ms. Grianwa.
Thank you. Ms. Foster and then Mr. Juarez.
Yes.
I just need to comment, what's so exciting about this is we have kids getting free and reduced lunch more than they were before when they qualify, and to make this, to me, that really matters. The families now are able to feed their kids. We're able to help with that at a higher rate because of this efficiency, and that really, really matters.
Makes a
Thank
huge
you.
difference.
Thank you.
And the
Mr. Juarez.
electronic application versus the paper application, that in itself, I mean, think of the hundreds of kids that are going to have 2 to 4 days more meals covered, and
Yes.
that's I mean, it might seem like a small detail, but it's huge. The one question I did have is we are a resource in this community over the summer. With our breakfast and our lunch meals. Can you speak a little bit to how this is going to help facilitate that a little bit more, if there's information on that already?
Well, we will use the back of the house system for the summer meal program because it's a separate program, as you know, and so we're vamping up for it right now. And with that, we don't need to use a point of service system for the summer program. We just need to use the tick sheet.
Right.
But what it does do is streamline the back of the house distribution. Because we'll probably do, last year we did approximately, and this is approximate, 45 TUSD summer program sites and about 25 community. And the community sites are increasing a little bit every year. And so our distribution routing system has changed a little bit. So we're working on that right now. The menus, of course, are a little bit different. And so the back of the house will have up and going enough to help with the summer meal program. We're piloting a few areas right now, so.
Right. So it sounds like this streamlining actually is going to help facilitate, or it maybe not necessarily increase, but facilitate our capacity to be able to do the things that we're doing beyond the school year.
Absolutely, and really the food purchases should become more streamlined and efficient. The service lines, summer and during the school year, we're doing more community sites. We have 2 more community sites that are talking about requesting, and you'll learn more about that when I find out more of what they would like to ask of us, to provide meals to them in the community. So,
Sure.
so in the future, you might be interested in having us do that, and so that's a continual reach out to the community.
Sure. I mean, and in my conversations, as informal as they have been, there's definitely an interest that I'm hearing from organizations out in the community that want to participate in that.
Yes, and a lot of that is that they're coming to us because we have a computerized system. The federal meal program is becoming so complex now, and so they're reaching out for support.
That's
So we
fine.
hope to do more of that.
Thank you for all your work, Shirley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's just a snapshot of the system here.
Is that you, Carla?
But next, we're going to jump over to priority number 3. So finance is in rare form tonight. We're just not going to follow these priorities in any specific order. We're going to do 1, 3, 2, 5, and then we're going to leave the best for last with Dr. Sanchez to talk about legislative advocacy. So next, I'm going to introduce Kevin Stark, who's going to be addressing priority number 3.
Thank you, Carla. President Grijalva, Superintendent Sanchez, Governing Board members, Council Tolson, thanks for the opportunity to present strategic priority number 3, school, finance, education, and transparency. And the key to the strategic priority number 3, our goal in year 2 was to enable end users to produce accurate and timely reports using the new ERP system and the other systems that have been put into place. And the key to doing that is to train people on what these systems are capable of and teaching them to be able to produce those reports that are necessary. Evidence of that is to be able to roll out 100% of training to ensure that end users can produce these reports in a timely manner by June 30th, 2016. We've still got a little more time until June 30th, 2016, and although we have accomplished a significant portion of this goal, I think that we still have some opportunities and we still have a couple of months left to maximize our impact in this area. There's still lots of reports that have not been discovered yet, and every day is a new discovery in all these different systems. So I'm going to try to go to the next slide here. There we go. So this slide summarizes some of the reports from the various systems in place in the financial areas that are available to sites and staff. And starting out with the visions, the budget report, which is useful to the budget and finance staff, and it's useful to the sites too. The purchase order balances report, that's especially useful to a lot of the folks in the financial area, accounts payable, purchasing. Position control, that's an important report for the budgeting process and for the sites. Employee information is also available in these different reports in visions. Time Clocks Plus they have some reports that definitely help payroll and the sites, the leave request report, the overtime report, the missed punch report. These are all reports that I think that we may not have had with our previous system, paper-driven system that we had in that area. And AppleTrack, they have reports on applicant status, and that's useful to the HR and departments and sites. Subfinder, absence reports, are available substitute reports. Those are useful to HR and sites. InTouch, that's the site POS system. They have a lot of online sales reporting that is set up for sponsors and coaches. Items such as yearbook sales, participation fees, and tax credit payments for a particular activity are set up to be able to be reported with the InTouch online sales reporting. And then Horizon Food Services, as Shirley mentioned, POS accountability, cashier reports, federal and state claim reports, free and reduced reports, meal planning, nutritional analysis, inventory warehouse, special diet information. Now, keep in mind that many of these systems have been in place for less than a year, and as we become more efficient, as we dig into these systems more, we're going to fully explore all the reporting capabilities, and we'll become more efficient and effective and productive using these systems. And then the systems report training, again, it's all about training and showing the folks who are using these systems how to extract the information that they need. And as a lot of the other folks have already talked about some of the training that we've done, the DAC training, the monthly office manager meetings, which started in March. Those have been a great venue for being able to give information to sites and departments, financial staff. One-on-one training as needed by principals, office manager, new users. I know the financial areas all offer this, and it's an effective way to bring somebody in who may be new or may be new to the district or having trouble using a certain system. Principal meetings, those are the ILA meetings. BLT, ILT meetings, always a good opportunity to present information to department staff, and open labs facilitated by the financial staff. We mainly use these for iVision users, and these open labs have been effective for folks just to come in an open area to come in and sit down at a terminal and do their work without the interruptions of maybe being in their school or something like that. Memos sent out from the CFO office or from the financial area to staff. Intranet instructions. A lot of the financial areas maintain intranet sites that have specific instructions on how to use the systems and how to get reporting out of the systems. My favorite one is the purchasing intranet site. If you ever get a chance to visit that, it's a plethora of information there. So, Office Stars training every summer, typically a few days in the summer for sites to present to the office managers, administrative assistants. And then the new training tool, which is under development, is the District Operating Guide and the DOG. And for more on the District Operating Guide, I think Anna Maiden is going to present information along with her executive assistant team.
Quite the acronym.
Yes, it was a challenge presented to all of us by our superintendent to come up with district operating guidelines, and so we've affectionately been calling it the DOG. We haven't given it a name yet, but we're working on it. So I don't want to take a lot of time from the four ladies that'll be coming up here to present the DOG. Our challenge was to put all of our business processes in one place, the procedures, you saw the training, but then where do people go to get that information afterwards, which is what we're going to present to you in a few minutes. But the four people who really were the backbone of this project, and it's still ongoing, are the four executive assistants in the business division of the district. Sarah Tarrin in finance, Deanna Reyes in human resources, Yolanda Pena from technology, and Tracy Winfield from operations. If it wasn't for them, I'm not sure this thing would have really gotten off the ground and out of the dog house. So I'm going to let them come up and talk to you about the district operating guidelines.
Okay, good evening, board members, Council Tolson, Dr. Sanchez. We're going to just give a little brief overview on the DOG, the District Operating Guide. The DOG is a consolidation of updated guidelines designed to provide a comprehensive presentation of standard procedures that are required by administration, board policy, state and federal law. It's the district's best practices, process descriptions, and standards for how work is expected to be performed. This guide will allow prompt and accurate conducting of district business in an open and ongoing manner. Now, the key part to this document is the consolidation. This information is going to be located in one easily accessible, easily searchable place that's available to all of our office managers, admin assistants, principals, and anyone who would need direction on any district processes. The purpose of the DOG is to improve communication. It will serve as a valuable communication device that will reduce gaps in between districts. It will present information and processes in an easily understandable format, taking into consideration a variety of learning styles. It will be a living document that will be revised and updated as processes and procedures changed or are added or eliminated. It will also ensure consistency. The guide will not only ensure that the sites are completing the processes in the same manner, but also serve as a guide for central staff in providing instruction to the schools. It will reduce employee training time. The DOG will serve as a training tool for new employees as well as for retraining current staff. It will reduce issues that arise from insufficient information or inconsistent training processes. It will improve productivity. The less time spent trying to figure out how to complete a process means more time for other job responsibilities. And it will strengthen district operations. This comprehensive guide, providing clear and accessible information and instruction, will allow for consistent and timely services to be delivered to sites. Now I will pass on the next section to Yolanda from TS, and she will be talking about what's in the DOG.
Hello. So what's in the DOG? The introduction. So that's going to contain the mission statement, and we're going to be working with the communications department in developing that mission statement for the district operating guide. It's also going to include the instructions, so the how-to, the way that we're going to present the instructions for the how to use the guide. The department roles, system applications. Over the last year, we've implemented a lot of different softwares such as iVisions and InTouch, time clocks. And so in that page, we'll have the list of system applications, and we'll have a description of what they're used for. And then we'll have a link to those sites as well. The processes and information, the how-tos, that's going to be the bulk of the guide. And that's going to, that's where we're going to have all the instructions and the information on all the processes that we have and how to do those processes. The next are the flow charts, templates, the checklist, the tips and tricks, organizational charts, contact lists, school directory, and the glossary and acronyms. So right now we're going to go ahead and take you into a preliminary draft of what the DOG is going to look like. So what we have up right now is one of the financial roles, and that's what will be on the department roles. Okay, so this is what the DOG is going to look like once we open it. So there's 4 different ways. We want to make this an easy, searchable document for everyone. So there's 4 ways to be able to find items throughout the DOG. One is through the bookmarks, which is, as you can see on the side panel right there, through the table of contents, and then through binoculars, or the Control F key, which is the find search key. I'm going to go into the table of contents, and I'm going to pull up, I want to go into the information and processes, and I want to look up how to set up my district email on my iPhone. So I'm going to scroll down to emails, and I'm going to look up the cell phone email address on the iPhone, and when I click on that, it'll take me to the step-by-step process on how to set up the district email on my iPhone. And that was one way, is through the table of contents.
So now I'm just going to show you another way
which is through the bookmarks. I always get them confused. And as we said, information and processes is the big bulk of the document. So if you open up the plus sign there, you're going to see a list of everything that's included in the dog. That's what we have so far. I'm sure there's going to be more to come. And it's all alphabetical. So I'm going to show you an example of EPARs. So if you go down to E's, you're going to see the word EPAR. And then when you click on that, you see current employee assignment. So if you click on there, it's going to take you to basically the step-by-step process on how to complete an EPAR. So whether you are new in your role or you just need a refresher, this is a good resource for you to use. If you scroll through it, you see that there's screenshots of all the windows you're going to see along the way. There's also like red indicators on what you should be paying attention to. And all the way at the bottom, there is a quick step-by-step instruction. So whether you're a visual learner that needs to see every window along the way, or you just want a list of all the steps you need to take to complete the process, you have both of those options available to you. So that's one example. And we're also going to be putting a revision date at the top right corner of all of these processes. Since this is a living document, we want to make sure that we're keeping it up to date and that you know the last time it was updated.
So another one of the search features is using Control F, which brings up the find box. And we're going to type in field trip, because we want to know how to do a field trip. Our kids want to go to the zoo. So field trip pulls up, you go ahead and click on it. And it gives you everything you need to know about a field trip. It even will link you, if you have to fill out a form, it'll link you right out to the forms page. You complete your form, either print or mail it out, whichever the requirement is for the form, and then you go back to the dog, go back to the next step. If there's another form, it's going to link you right to the next one. So that's one of the really neat features, I think. Something else that we have in the dog that we've included is a school directory. Now this is going to be used both for schools and departments. Let me open one up here. So here's the elementary school directory. You can see where we've started listing the schools. If you click on Banks Elementary, it's going to take you to the page that has all of Banks' basic information, their phone number and address. It has the basic office staff information. But then on the flip side for the school, it has the the people in the departments that they directly need to refer to for HR, for payroll, for facilities, and that kind of thing. So to be a great resource on both sides of the house for that.
So now let's go into how this whole thing is going to come together. This is a huge project, so we can't do it overnight. In the next slide, you can see the timeline. Oh, forget we have that. So we were introduced to this project in March, and that's when we started introducing central office managers, directors, just the idea of the dog, and all of the feedback that we got was very positive. I think everyone was kind of waiting for something like this to happen for the district. Now that we're in April, we're focusing on content development, so we're working with key areas across the district to help us get the content that's already out there and reformat it so that we can make sure this document looks like it's supposed to go together, or creating new content that's needed. Going into May, we're going to begin a testing and revisions period, and we have a pilot group, which Tracy will talk more about in a minute, and they're basically going to test the usability of the dog once we have a more usable version for them to test out. And as they give us feedback, we're going to make the revisions as we get that. That way in June, we're just doing all the fine tuning, any last minute details that we might have left out, just checking everything is looking good, because our goal is that we're going to have this document, at least in its first draft, uploaded to our intranet page, ready for people to start using, starting at the STARS training, which is right before school. So that is our ultimate goal.
Okay, so as Deanna told you, we did meet with the central staff first. We introduced them to the project. We asked for their ideas and input. We asked for suggestions from the different school sites that might be willing to help pilot this and be good test subjects. After that, we met with the office managers, and I have to tell you, they all cheered when we told them about this. They were very excited. So not only did we have the people that the central staff suggested for the pilot team, we had people step up and offer to help us out with this and pilot it. They've sent in suggestions. They've sent in, how soon can we start and that kind of thing. So it's been really exciting to see that come back from them. Then, as we've said before, this is a living document. So we want to make sure everybody knows we're continually updating it from things as processes change to as staff changes. Because as you saw, we had the contact list up there also. So we need to keep it going because this is what our go-to document is going to be for everyone to learn from. So now back to Ms. Soto for the next priority.
Ms. Grijalva?
I believe Mr. Juarez had a question.
I do have one suggestion. I think every time you get to the page that you're looking for, it should bark. Just a little levity. I'm sorry. Great job. Great job.
Well, and I want one for my district. This is amazing.
No one can hear you. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
These ladies have done a fabulous job. I know that we gave them a round of applause at the last presentation because I think that they've been able to do what a lot of consultants don't, that this is high quality work that they've been doing. And they've really.
We need to take this to the next National School Board Conference because this is impressive.
Right. Well, thank you. So the next priority, maximize existing revenue and resources. Again, utilizing fiscal resources to support a strategic plan. And the evidence to be produced here would be implementation of our asset management system by June 30th, 16. So with that, I'm going to introduce Christina Cruz, our Senior Accounting Manager, and we'll talk a little bit about the asset management system and where we're at with that.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm going to cover where we currently are with the asset management system and what we're going to be moving to. With the implementation of the new ERP system, we did implement an asset management module. The last physical inventory that we took was in fall of 2014. That was a manual physical inventory. The asset management training has been going on. We provide it annually at the STARS. We also provide it on an as-needed basis to sites, either where we feel they need to be trained or if they come to us and say that they feel as if they need additional help in managing their assets. As part of the implementation, Tyler Technology facilitated 9 trainings to assist in the asset management. I guess I need to put the little clicker up. Which way going? As part of the training, Tyler facilitated 9 trainings to central asset management staff. Part of that training was also process reviews, discussions of how we are doing things centrally. As a result of those trainings, we are finishing up our process development. We are also working on the data conversion to visions. That all is expected to be done by May 31st. Moving forward into phase 2 is going to be the asset management enhancement barcoding project using the Hayes inventory tracking system. With this system, sites will be able to manage their inventory at their sites, meaning as items move around the sites will be able to track that in the system for inventory purposes. We will be moving to a UPS style of tracking. So when the assets that we order hit the loading dock at Central Warehouse, they will be tagged and scanned as they are transported to the sites. They will be dropped at the sites. They will be scanned at the sites. They will be signed off on at the sites. We will also institute a little more comprehensive sign-in and sign-out tracking of assets assigned to employees. On the next inventory system, we plan to use scanner technology instead of a manual system for taking inventory. And this is going to lead us to more detailed tracking of our assets down to, at the employee level, who's got assets checked out, and also at the asset level, what room, what floor, what building they're in. This has become a requirement of the auditors now that we've moved to a new updated system. They are expecting that sort of tracking.
Oh, great. We talked about this years,
yes,
iterations of it for years and years and years. So it's nice to see that coming because I remember a presentation 8 years ago when we were talking about that we write everything out, and there was a big push to do barcodes, and we didn't really have the system to collect all the data and to be able to disseminate it. So I'm very glad to see this. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to introduce Julie Versluis, who's going to discuss student funding.
Thank you.
Actually, I think we got out of order here, but good afternoon or evening.
Evening.
Happy tomorrow.
I think the next one. The priority 2 strategic plan was to maximize existing revenue and resources. Our goal was to utilize fiscal resources that support TUSD plan. So we want to ensure that 100% implementation of the asset management system. This is, we got this backwards.
I think we went backwards.
We did. There you go. That's it. Thank you, that one. Sorry. I was thinking of reading it going, Okay, so let's start all over again. We have the priority 5, external funding to support the priorities. Year 2 goal was TUSD will provide fundraising strategies that will support district initiatives and student achievement. What the evidence was to train 80% of our site council facilitators on using and increasing tax credit revenue. So what we are planning on doing is the training initiatives in order to talk to our site council facilitators and promote how we're going to increase tax credit revenues. They really need to know also how to spend the tax credit revenues. We do have, the state has specific tax credit guidelines on that. So what we would like to do is on the training scheduled for May 17th, we're going to have training for site council facilitators, and we also wanted to add in PTO, PTA representatives, and also parent boosters, because really most of the people are the same people that are on the PTO and PTA, and as a parent. So we'd like to bring them in as well, and the site principals, and we'd like to ask them to define their goals of extracurricular activity programs offered for the students. Then we would go ahead and explain what the tax credit requirements is and how those funds can achieve their goals. If they don't, the tax credit requirements, if it meets their goals, but there is more to it in their program, then maybe the PTO and the parent boosters can step in and they can help also identify with their funding sources. So that's why we wanted to bring them all together. The other thing I wanted to mention is to actually get out there and recognize by the community, because we all know it's not just the student, your parents that are giving tax credit donations. It's any taxpayer can give donations. So we wanted to give out banners. So each school does have a banner that they can advertise, and hopefully you see those. I get excited when I'm driving around. I do see them out there. We also have one on the 1010 out there as well. I also want to congratulate and thank the communication department, because they have the Facebook campaign that's out there for the Tax Credit Tuesday. So that actually, I guess they go out there and they promote the Tax Credit Tuesday, kind of explain what it's all about, and they also will recognize schools that have great tax credit programs that are going on that are funded that way. I wanted to give you a little bit of what the tax credit revenues that have come in for 2015. We do it by calendar year because we have to send to the state a public school report by the end of February, and they do it by calendar year, not fiscal year. It was 2.5 million, roughly, almost 2.6. 2014 was at 2.7. I wanted to state that with the state extended deadlines for taxpayers, they were able to give to April 18th. So we're going to take, and we're hoping that that's the result, because they were able to extend giving instead of December 31st, that they were able to extend to April 18th. Right now, the tax credit recorded from January 1st to the 18th, we do have $748,000 in there. 44% is actually contributions to your tax credit. specific probably extracurricular activity. 33% is the AP testing. As you all know, the legislator has now allowed AP testing, the fee, to be claimed as tax credits. So they've been taking advantage of that. 13% was sports participation fees. 7% is designated other participation fees, and 3% was fine art participation fees. So we helped to move forward on that, and it's still early. We just, most of the time we get most of our tax credit is towards probably October or November. So we hope we're just pushing forward on that. So that was pretty much it. You have any questions? No? Okay.
Questions? Thank you.
Another thing that we wanted to talk about was that we were given an additional goal in this specific priority, and was to decrease student enrollment loss. So again, the evidence was very wordy there, but all in all, we had to prove that the percentage change from 13 to 14 and 14 to 14-15 and then 14-15 to 15-16 will go down. And as you can see, we've been able to reach this goal. 13-14, we lost 3.2% of our students. 14-15, we lost 1.8%, and now we're at 1.3%. So hopefully 16-17, especially with current year funding right looming upon us, we'll be able to hold the line and maintain that student enrollment. Okay. So we're moving on to strategic priority number 4, which is legislative advocacy. And I'm going to let Dr. Sanchez take this on. Thank you.
Just briefly, let's see, House Bill 2476, school property sales lease. You'll see the format is a representative who introduced it. This one's awaiting Senate third read calendar. Basically, this one says if we sell school property or we lease school property, anything that is above 14% of what we owe in our, let's see, interest and sinking or debt service fund. So basically, if you take a look at our entire revenue control limit, if we owe more than 14% of what's within our revenue control limit to interest and sinking or to debt service fund, then any property we sell and or lease would have to go to pay that off. For us, we're not in that situation because we don't have, we have a bond that no 4 is trailing down. And so this really hits districts that are growing rapidly, that are building and potentially leasing space. So it doesn't affect us at this point. It would only affect us if we were to pass a big bond and then sell property. We wouldn't get the benefit of being able to use that to put back into the district. Rather, it would have to go to pay off the debt. That's where this would trigger, is if you get a bond and you lease and or sell property. So in a way, it discourages you from selling property and discourages you from leasing property if you have bonds. It's just odd. Really don't understand the purpose behind it, and there really wasn't a whole lot. H2401 and 1125, school DSEG funding phase down. It was Representative Leach and Senator Debbie Lesko. This is what I call a front door attack on DSEG and OCR. At this point in time, it's dead, but like zombies, they come back in strike everything amendments. So this thing could show itself in a strike everything amendment. It could show itself in the budget. Or it could show itself in House Bill 2480, which is what we're seeing. House Bill 2482, Senate Bill 1276, empowerment scholarships. expansions phase in. This one, again, is dead, but like I said, you've seen a few attempts for this thing to be revised and revived and strike everything amendments. I think the last iteration of this was everybody in Arizona qualifies for a voucher. And come get your voucher. We'll give you $5,000. We'll keep $400. You take that $5,000 and go do whatever you want with it, and let us know how it works out. We'll save a little money off the general fund. You can go to, you know, your favorite private school, or you could do some online school, or you could save it and pay for college and just homeschool them. And we have no way of tracking it because we can't currently track what we have now. So that one right now is dead, but we'll see it again next year if we don't see it again at some point this year. House Bill 2544, Senate Bill 1321, school statewide. This one was put forward by Representative Boyer, Senator Allen. It was already signed into law by the governor. This is the one that creates a menu of options. It ties some with Ms. Tollison's presentation. So the menu of options is kind of a tiptoe out of standard test mania, no child left untested. And so this perhaps may open up some greater flexibility to where district-created assessments and or other instruments that we currently use could take the place of standardized assessments. So we'll see how this thing comes out. We haven't received the menu yet. So State Board of Ed, AD have to work on that piece. We signed in support of this because it was moving in the direction of away from one size fits all. Senate Bill 1208, teacher cert reciprocity. We signed in on this one because if you look at it, we basically have quite a few teachers that come from other states that have to pay a lot of money to take a whole lot of classes for courses that they're never going to teach. And so it makes sense that if they were qualified and certified to stand in front of kids in another state and doing a fine job there, we hire them on. Our principals feel they're a good fit, and they can get a valid fingerprint clearance card, and they're in good standing with that state, then we should be able to hire them in. So it's a reciprocity bill. Basically, it encourages people to come to the state and not see all of the red tape and hoops as incentive not to come to the state. Senate Bill 1525, JTED restoration. I think enough said on that. That was really the business community and education coming together. I know Mr. Waters wrote a nice op-ed, never was published, but it was a good piece on talking about the JTED restoration and reform effort. So I'm sure he has that somewhere on the Facebook page if you want to read it. But that really was the community coming together to work together to restore JTED. It wasn't all restored though, because there were courses that if they didn't lead to a industry certification, they're defunded. So it's not like everything came back. Most of it, but not all of it. And kids that are over 18 years of age, there's no funding through the JTID for them either, so now they have to figure out a way to pay for college. And oh, by the way, community colleges get no funding, and at best, universities this year, out of the $99 million that was cut last year, I think the best they might get is like anywhere between 28 and 30 million, but the governor's budget had 8 million, so it's going to be somewhere between there. And that means all the institutions are looking at raising their tuition. That's that. I'll update y'all more on House Bill 2480 and House Bill 2481. There may be a press conference of sorts if that doesn't get resolved, because it has some very negative effects going forward as it seeks to resolve the taxpayer 1% protection from property value, and the county is suing the governor on that one. And we're kind of a side effect of sorts because, like I said, there are a lot of moving parts to that one, so we're still working on that. But a lot of good work thus far with the major bills that come up year in, year out. That concludes this presentation, and I think we have one more.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
All right. I'd like to introduce Mr. Duncan and company. They're going to come up. They have a pretty succinct presentation, and so we'll hand it over to them.
Thank you all for the finance presentation.
Great job, y'all.
And Dr. Sanchez, it's great to actually meet the people. So
Yep.
thank you for having them come.
Yep.
These
Thank
are all
you so much. The brains behind all the
yeah, all the
brains.
smiling
Yep.
faces.
Boots
Thank
on the
you.
ground, man.
All right, Stu, here it is. Right here, sir.
Dunk. That's a really nice suit, Dunk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sanchez, President Grijalva, distinguished board members, council from Mile High.
Right.
She missed it. That's all right.
I got it.
I have with me a group of people who have been patiently waiting. We'll try to run through this real quickly. The facility plan has 5 major goals that we're going to be discussing tonight. The same ones we've been reviewing. This will be year 2 goals. Priority 1, green planning. TUSD will consider and integrate green planning concepts into capital improvements, resource management, and community involvement. Our year 2 goal is reduce utility consumption by 3% from the baseline of year 12-13. As you see here, this is a reduction in energy use going from left to right for each month. We're wanting to see it go from the blue down to purple. We have this all the way through January. So in February, March to the end, the last one is the lime green or green. So you're seeing that those bars are going down. That's what we want to be able to see. Also in energy use, we have the reduction. If you see it right there, the blue line that you're seeing across the middle there is kind of what we're hoping to achieve. As you can see in all the months, we've actually been achieving considerably over that. And so all of those are above the 3% that we're trying to hope for. Water irrigation, we have a baseline also of 12-13. We're looking for the same thing in the reduction of use. Again, starting from the left to right, we're wanting to see those bars go down from left to right to the purple, and for the months that we don't have, from left to right to the green. In all instances for those months, basically you're seeing that same thing there. And again, to hope to see the point that we're trying to make is that we have a 3% reduction. You see all those months are good. I will point out the one bad month. The reason I do that is that actually we can actually review what is going on and find out what the problem is. In the 1st of January, we see that there's a problem, but we don't have that data and that information. Eventually we get that information very late in February. It's starting to become a problem. We get into it in March, we determine what that problem is, and we find out that we have a number of schools that we had some water leaks with. And the information gave that back to us. We'll be able to repair that information, repair the data, and repair the school, and get us back on sync. And the total utility uses also, you see the blue line there with the 3%. So when we put this together, we are looking at those reductions. Again, we're looking for a 3% reduction. You'll see that we'd be able to achieve those in excess of 3% in all the periods that we're looking at: the electricity, natural gas, water, and irrigation. And along the line, we have enjoyed 2 particular events that took place. I was very fortunate to be involved in the September one, and recently the TEP honored our group with that great picture up there of getting the school district's Bright E Award for being involved with electric power and reduction in energy and having programs. Second of all, we have the long-range facility plan. This is something Bryant Nadine has been working on for some time. Gave a presentation on April 5th. So I won't really go into big detail because I think you guys know what's been going on with that plan. And as it relates to what the goal is to provide the district with a facility master plan. We presented the draft plan, as I mentioned, April 5th, and then we went and moved forward. The plan is going to be finalized on May 10th and presented to the board for approval. Preventive maintenance. TUSD will provide facilities that are clean, safe, and energy efficient for students and employees through the routine preventative maintenance and repair. Our 2nd year goal was effective automated work order systems, or RCMMS systems. We had an old system. It was MAPCON. MAPCON was a system that was started in 1991. It went for 24 years. I'd like to think about some of these comments. The version is no longer supported by vendor. What we mean by that is no different than if you had a Windows program, Windows 2. Well, most people are on Windows 7 and 10. Or if you had Microsoft Office for Works, and you said, well, geez, nobody has that on the system anymore. Well, we had a MAPCON system, and since 2001, we were kind of limping along. We've recently decided that there was a better way to do work, and so we involved ourselves.
Hooray.
The obsolete technology resulted in time-intensive reporting, and system requires extensive daily maintenance. And what that was is that we were taking spreadsheet and pulling that information over, and then we were fixing the errors in the data because they didn't all align. That would be like taking information and knowing that you have 4 lines on some of the information, and sometimes you have 5 lines, and then realizing you have that problem. It's kind of like taking information from a PDF and trying to put it into a spreadsheet. Sometimes that kind of messes up. That's kind of what was happening to us.
Yeah.
What our new system is Famous software. We purchased it in 2015, and our kickoff was October 2015. Data gathering was completed in 2015, which is to take the data, get it into the new system, also take those old work orders and get that in as well. Configuration and testing was completed in February of 2016, and we implemented the program February 22nd. What this meant, we transferred all open work orders into the new system. We trained approximately 400 employees and staff members. We provided test environments for them to figure out how it worked. We provided an access available for the forms and databases. And we created a link to Famous on our Tucson, our TUSD homepage that you see there, a picture there that says Famous. To do that, we trained our own staff 4 hours. These are the experts, the people that had to know what was going on, trained the trainers. We went to the high schools and gave specific 3 hours of training because they have their own grounds and their own maintenance and engineers. And then we trained the office managers how to operate getting the work orders into the system and make that work for you. Benefits to the sites, to the school sites. They said and they see that this is easy to navigate and user-friendly. It works, the simple, fast work order creation. No number change between the request and the work order, so you don't have a separate number. We get an automatic notification. So one of the big things is, instead of you having to rely on somebody to call you, you have a system that goes out and sends you an email and says, this is what's updating, this is where we're at, this is what's going on with it, and you can get to somebody else that might be asking those same questions. So we have real-time updates so the requester can see how it's working. This is an example. Here's a little picture. This is what they get to see. So you notice over there in the status area, it's open, something got done on it, it's open. Now we have some things that are going on in progress, and eventually it's closed, so everybody can see what's going on. What are the benefits to the facilities and operations? Well, the work order system also is real-time for the technicians. They have tablets. They can use those tablets to make everything up to date to them. They can take emails with that. They can take pictures with those tablets, so they can really tell us what's going on. No system maintenance is required because it's a web-based system, and our reporting is accurate now. We're no longer losing work orders as we were before. Feedbacks from the sites. I like the new system, and it seems to be really easy to navigate, plus I like what's going on with it, completion of the job. We never heard that before. So far, it's so good, and I love the new system. I really like this is a lot better than MapCon. Much more user-friendly and easy to use. Here's a sample of what's been going on.
This is a short film to demonstrate the automation and efficiency of the new work order system in facilities. An exterior door at Miles Exploratory Learning Center has something jammed in the lock. The office manager uses Famous to submit the work request. Our Operations Solutions staff receives email notification of the request. They evaluate the work order, make needed adjustments, and assign the work order to the Fire Safety Department. The Fire Safety Supervisor receives an email notification of the high priority work request. He assigns a locksmith to the work order. An email alert informs the locksmith that a high priority work order has just been assigned to him. The email lets him know the location, problem, and priority. He is on his way.
This is my brother.
The technician examines the lock, notices the hinges are damaged as well. He snaps a picture with his tablet and sends off a high priority child work order to the carpenter shop. The picture will inform the technician that the hinges need to be replaced. It is important that both of these issues are resolved so the exterior door can be secured by the end of the school day. All work is complete. Tom is documenting his work and time in Famous. Closing the work order triggers an automatic notification informing the requester that the work has been completed. Looking at the work order in Famous, Josie can see all of the work has been done in the Commons area, the time it took to perform the work, and the technician assigned to the work order. We love our new work order system.
That's great.
Okay. I want you to know that it doesn't go on there. My staff understand completely that they don't have to have mustaches or anything like that to be able to work for me. Okay, I want you to know that. Okay. Technology plan. I'd like to introduce Scott Morrison.
Say, my Huckleberry. I'll make you famous.
You can hold it. Governing board.
You guys are great.
So the technology priority number 4 is to really create a curriculum management system utilizing the existing tools that we have, because we know that we were moving forward with Synergy. Synergy has a really great integration with Lesson View, so we wanted to start to move this priority ahead. This is just to see how easy that it's accessible from the public and also from internally as we're moving forward. You can see from the employee page. So really, our teachers that don't want to be in the classroom or be on TUSD properties will still be able to get access to the curriculum management system from the outside, and also for parents to really start to understand and get that view of what is our curriculum standardization looking like, and having a lot more transparency than they ever had before. Right now, we've implemented this year a 1-hour PD credit for teachers to complete on how to navigate in all the different areas within the curriculum management system. And it's going forward really well. It's also our TTLs, our teacher tech liaisons, are also working. We have 148 of those teacher tech liaisons that are under the venue of James Butler, his team under the PD technology team, and this is one of those areas that they really strengthen. So when we break out into the PLCs, this starts to disseminate also throughout the school. This site was really created. This is basically using what our web services that we have today, which is really limited. Hats off to the team, the web service team under Stephanie Bowes. Venue, they've done a fantastic job, and also under the direction of Dr. Clash and her team in setting up what really made sense for teachers and how to navigate this piece. It's organized very well, just like you would see in a curriculum management system, as you can see going through, and the type of depth that it definitely has. You can see over there we have a curriculum survey for teachers. There's constant feedback loop of what's going through there. Just this year we started to move with School City testing grades, and we knowing that integration is going to be moving forward to really see where content mastery is, and ensuring that the new versions of, we're now in version 3.0 is moving forward. So this is just really quick examples that I'd like to go through with that. And that's the setup, and we're excited to be moving a lot of this infrastructure into the new system. So I'd like to just hand it back to Stuart.
I think Ms. Foster has a question.
If you could go back to this feedback survey, teacher survey. Is there a place also, not only for curriculum survey for teachers on the curriculum, but on the benchmark assessments? Because I think it's important to find out, did they align to what we were teaching? And so can they also give feedback there to that, for that?
That's under Dr. Freitas's world. I think that's just starting to, she's the one that can better answer that. I know that the alignment is there, and that's the whole program evaluation, really starting to strengthen that.
Right. But just to
It's just in the beginning stages, correct. And that's where really moving with Lesson View within Synergy really starts to make that a lot more of that integration, a lot easier and quicker, and for the continuous improvement cycle to happen.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Hand it back over to Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Priority 5, safety and security. Jeff Coleman could not make it tonight, so I'm going to take his lead on this. I'd like to kind of communicate not only the goal, but kind of what the thought process behind all this is. TUSD will ensure every school and site the district has offered physically inviting and nurturing environment that optimizes teaching and learning and actively protects its members from physical and emotional harm. Provide training at least 75% of the staff for emergency planning. Before I go into this, I would like to say that I think one of the things that prevents us from taking a step forward when we look at safety for our students is that sometimes we want to look at the walls of bureaucracy as a reason for not getting something done. At the end of the day, when you have something happening as tragic that happens at some of the schools throughout the United States, I don't know personally I could go home not knowing that I had given some kind of effort to get rid of some of that bureaucracy in that wall. As related to last year's goal, one of those issues was to work closely with risk management and Nicole Lowry in our grounds area to improve the playgrounds. To know that we could go home knowing that we had done something to improve that. Our excuse, our wall was, it was too hard to look at the number of playgrounds, which are in the 200s, 300s, and review them for everything that was going on. And Dr. Sanchez stepped forward and said that he would allow us a half an hour 3 times a week to have monitors go out and review them. And so Nicole Lowry and her group trained them to see what was going on. And we validate that that training is going on, and we validate that those checks are going on. And then that information about something that's wrong with that playground comes into grounds. The second thing for this year was not to have something where we read about in the paper or the news that something as terrible has happened to our schools or at a school site. And so Jeff Coleman felt it was important that he did something about training and mandated training so that we could train our people to understand what could happen and view our sites. And that's what this year's goal is about. So the process is right here is a 3-prong, is to go out emergency management special visit. The emergency plans are then reviewed and updated, and then the staff is trained. Training includes school evacuation plans, reunification process, and a basic emergency drill system. Of our schools, 68 of them have already had their training. 13 is still scheduled, and we have 6 that are not quite scheduled yet. That already meets the goal of the 75%. Above that, we have annual training for monitors and site security agents because they have enhanced roles at those schools. So these are the dates that we are conducting the training to make sure they get something extra. We also want to get feedback. So the additional training for first responder schools, these schools actually went through the system, and then they're providing us feedback of what things we can do better, what things that we saw was going on there. So when we went through the system, what is lacking from it? All this to achieve a better secured system so that we feel that we can go home and say, we've done something better, and we haven't let bureaucracy say why we can't get something done. There are important, or we should look at the important benefits of emergency preparedness. Prepare schools to respond when seconds count. Practicing emergency drills give confidence when incidents occur, and it safeguards lives. To discuss our goals, green planning on target, our long-range facility plan on target, preventative maintenance has been completed, the technology plan is on target, and then most recently the safety and security with Jeff Coleman is complete. Those are our goals, and those are that's our update. To mention to you a little bit about the individuals involved that stayed here this evening. David is back, and David Vilcicea is on the phone back there in the back. He'll raise his hand. He is filling in case we have questions there for safety. On the end next to Scott, we have Rod Dawkins, and working with the CMMS team, and Ray Cashin, also the CMMS team. Debbie, also with the CMMS team. Pat has been our project leader of all the strategic goals. Ed has been involved with the CMMS system, and we have Marcus also involved with Tina on the green planning. So this is a group. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Ms. Grijalva.
Board members, Ms. Foster.
Could we get a photo with all the mustaches before you guys go? You know, we publicize that stuff, and that just made our night, and so we need a photo with our.
Will I get in trouble with my higher practicing?
Only if you feel comfortable doing so. Voluntarily.
Who's going to take the picture?
Nick.
Mr. Roman is here. He can take a picture with all the folks with mustaches. So.
Are there any other questions regarding?
I have one question. We were
Mr. Juarez.
We were talking a little bit about facilities planning and all that, and I know Mr. Marcus is here, not Mr. Marcus. So one of the questions I have, it's been lingering in my brain for a little bit, is the issue of single point of entry, and how many sites we still have that we need to move forward in that direction. I mean, we've talked about bonds, we've talked about long range planning. One of the things is I want to see that number. I think it'd be a good number to see as we continue to move forward in this direction. Because a lot of our elementary schools that I go to, I see the gates, I see the button we got to push to get in. So it's definitely something that I've seen an improvement over the last few years. So the big question is, how many more sites do we have to secure?
Right, we went through that with bond money to address a number of them, and weren't able to complete that. Do you have the numbers off your hand? You don't?
For future
I know
could just
we
say
can
no.
get that for the future. We can
Yes,
be able
sir.
to provide that. I will also know that when we take a look at new facilities or updates to new facilities, like some of the family centers, that's one of the things that we're adding into the family centers on some of those, so that we can make sure those things are improved.
That is great. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. That was our last item. I do want to take a point of personal privilege and say that this is Ms. Tollison's last meeting with TUSD. So on behalf of the board, I just want to say sincerely thank you for all of the work that you've done with this district. I know that this has been a very challenging time with a lot of different things going on, and I don't know of any legal counsel in our district that has had to deal with as many new issues coming up in the district as you have. So I want to say thank you very much for all of your service to the Tucson community, and we wish you the best of luck.
Good luck in Denver.
And just, it's been an honor and a pleasure, truly. I mean, great things going on here
Are you going to watch our meetings?
with popcorn.
Right. Awesome. All right. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.